Hi, it's Jessie. I'm back again, and I have a word. Okay, you know how the Bible says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Well, when you come before the Lord, your spirit it quakes a little, it quivers a little, and this quake is to let you know to get down low on your face, to bow down, to get flat. Just like when you're going through a fire and there's smoke, you get down low, you bow down to avoid the heat that's above, the smoke that's above, the toxins that are above. So that quaking in your spirit is it's meant for to bring you down, to help you bow down to the Lord, you know. Well, I have this problem. You see, I have PTSD, and when it's triggered, I have hypervigilance. So I am hyper aroused all the time, and it's like having a constant panic attack. Okay, panic attacks are acute, but my PTSD it goes on for days, months, weeks, you know. And if I can snap out of it, it's great. But I can't always snap out of it. And I can get down on my knees and pray to God all day long, you know. And I still have this extreme anxiety on me, right? But what I'm what I'm trying to tell you is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? The devil is a counterfeit. Because while God brings this little fear on you to let you know to bow down because he's coming to you, the devil found out God's way, and he uses his way to rule the people, not so that they'll just bow down so that God can pour wisdom on them. So that wait, the devil doesn't use it so that they can bow down and gain wisdom. The devil uses it so that they'll bow down and be his slave. Is what I'm basically trying to say. He twists everything around, okay? Completely twists things. And, you know, I know a lot about the devil, spent a lot of time with him over the years of my life. I had a large dysfunctional family, you know, and so I learned a lot about his ways growing up through those around me. And some would say that I got the spirit of fear from a very young age, you know. So, being that I had this spirit of fear, but I also had God at the same time, my world was a bit inconsistent, to say the least, okay? Because I walked through these situations, and I did a lot of things that I didn't want to do because I was afraid, you know. I caved into a lot of things that I didn't want to do because I was afraid. I took a lot of abuse that I shouldn't have taken because I was afraid, you know. And the problem with these people, you know, with the devil rules, he's got this way. I mentioned in my video the other day about how an eye for an eye type of justice doesn't work, because when you're dealing with the devil, he doesn't he doesn't eye for an eye doesn't work, because if he hits you and you hit him back, he will hit you back 7 times harder, and then again, and then again, and then again, and again, and again, until you beg for forgiveness for the wrong that you did to him. You know, this is the way that the devil operates, through fear and bullying. Fear and bullying, constantly fear and bullying, you know. And people who are ruled by the devil are the same way, constantly through fear and bullying. But the thing about them, you know, after they get their head busted a few times, they start to learn that they can't be so violent, right? They can't be so violent all around the world. So they narrow their focus and they find a target. And as long as they got a target, something to chew on, then the dog goes easy on the rest of the world, you know, which is part of the reason why the world lets them get away with so much crap, and why they'll label the target as crazy. They'll label the target as deserving of the crime. They're so much apt to put all the guilt on the target because it's easier to maintain the balance of justice if you have someone who you can put the guilt on. You know, I know I spent a lot of years in my life profusely apologizing for everything, things that weren't even my fault, and not just the people that I was afraid of, but to everybody. You know, I took I took the weight of the world on my shoulders, trying to restore, or I mean, maintain the balance, right? And at the end of the day, all I got out of it was loneliness and brokenness, right? Of course, I got a closer relationship with God, but it took me a lot of breaking before I could be made whole. And I'm still not whole. I'm just stronger now than I was before. Um, I like to watch different teachings, okay? And it's not because I want to go and be in some other religion. It's it's because I like to know what other people think. I don't just want to judge somebody based on their affiliation with something. I want to hear what they have to say so that I can understand them. Not so much so I can pass judgment on them, but so that I can learn from them, right? Um, I was listening to this rabbi speak, and he was talking about how the police are trained to deal with certain people um, by when they're loud, you go one octave higher, you know, and it's because these people, they only respond to brute force, and yeah, I understand the way that is, but we're in Christianity, we're taught that, you know, that battle with the devil belongs to the Lord, you know, and it's not to say that we should sit down and take things like a punk, but the reason why the battle belongs to the Lord, why it can only be solved through the Lord's rebuke, is because the devil enjoys the fight. The devil's prize is the fight. He loves destruction. He loves to make people suffer. He loves to make people miserable. This is where he finds his joy in the misery, okay? Because it's only when he sees the misery out there that he doesn't feel so bad about himself, you know? When he can prove you as unworthy, then he feels a little less abandoned by God, you know? He feels a little less cast out of heaven, you know? But the thing is that you can't fight him because he'll just keep going and keep going. And when he can't go on in his own, he'll find some horses to mount up on. And when the horses fail, he'll find some footmen for the horses to mount up on. And your enemies, they multiply in that field like that as long as you're fighting the devil, right? But if you'll put down your sword and follow the teachings that Jesus left us, you know, love one another, forgive, you know, um, resist evil. If he asks for your cloak, give it to him, you know, you give him more, right? So, or if he asks for your tongue, give him your cloak as well. That's the verse, right? So, Jesus taught us not only how to survive these people's presence, but actually how to starve them out. And see, the thing is, you can't beat evil by fighting evil because it's like throwing logs into the fire. It just grows and grows and grows. But you can stop the fire by starving it of the fuel. You know, you choke it out by loving up on it. Seriously. It's the only way to do it. And it's not the punk way to do it. You understand? You can't be a punk and think you can beat the devil because he'll just have you beat down and you'll be curled up like me sometimes, and I'll admit it. I'm still ruled by my fears sometimes. I still get triggered, and I'm working on it. I keep on pressing into God for it, and I get a little better every day. But still, He will have you in a pit of fear, you know. But if you turn it around, like I was talking about Jesus, how he maybe was the doormat for a lot of people in his lifetime before he actually demanded to wash your feet and said, "This is the only way you're getting into heaven, This is the only way you're going to be clean is if I do this for you." So he owned it. And he recognized that this was what he came to do. This is what was necessary to starve out the evil in the world, is to just lay down your sword. And I know, he said something about he came with the sword to divide families. Forget that nonsense right now, okay? And I'm not saying anything he spoke was nonsense. I'm just saying forget the arguments, forget the rebuttals, because truly the only way to overcome evil is by starving it out with love, by not giving it any place. When you start treating people that are, people treat these other people, I'll say criminals, I'll say evil people, whatever you want to call them. People treat them like they're less of people, and then they feel justified in being evil because people treat them as such. They embrace it, and it's a standard that was set up in childhood, but it's a standard that needs to be broken, and we need to teach people that they're more than that, that they're better than that, and they can do better than that and be better than that. No need to go one octave higher. Take that stuff down a notch and tell somebody that it's okay. We all need to hear that we're forgiven. We all need to hear that we're loved. We all need to hear that we are people of value, and maybe that person's not getting it from someplace else. So maybe you just be the one to sow it into them, because when you can't find that stuff coming out of them, it's because it hasn't been sowed into them. And if it's been sowed, it hasn't been sowed in a way that they could accept it. But if you make it a communal norm, if you make it a societal norm, then they have no choice but to assimilate, because they really don't want to be the outcast of society. Yeah, they want to run things, but they can't run things if they don't understand the people. And if the people are more driven to love one another than to suffer from fear, then you have to understand that these people, they can't have any power because the big mouths rule through fear. Remember Goliath? He did a lot of talking, but not a lot of action, if you recall the stories, right? So you have to understand they're just like Goliath, Not so much necessary to kill him, just teach him that that's not okay. And don't teach him that it's not okay by condemning him, but teach him that it's not okay by sowing good stuff into him. And teaching him that the world's not so bad, that it's okay, that they can lay down their sword and their shield and come out of their hole. And I know I sound like some Pollyanna creature, but seriously, it's not a Pollyanna thing. It's a warrior thing, because it's going to take some warriors to do it. You're going to have to man up and look evil in the face and say, "I love you, man. It ain't going to be like this." Seriously, because it's the only way it's ever going to end. God didn't give us a spirit of fear. That's the devil's copycat. And, Paul was telling us that when he wrote it, God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. That fear of the Lord is just letting you know that He's coming down. And that's just a short spurt followed by lots of wisdom pouring in. So make sure you understand that the devil's fear lingers and lingers and lingers. God's little panic that He puts on you opens you up. It's your opening, it's your blooming to receive from Him all that He has to pour into you. It's the kind of fear that you say, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you for loving me enough to come down." And that's kind of fear that you get on your face for, because you're grateful, not because you're scared. Because it's not that kind of fear. It's not that kind of fear. Your Father loves you and He won't hurt you. You understand? He wants to pour into you. He's just opening you up so you can receive, and it feels like that, but it's not that. It's just your opening, just like a woman giving birth. It's just the opening. That's what I got for you tonight. Y'all have a good night.